So let's see here.
I'm glad we lightened it up right at the end. I was
Yeah,
getting real
yeah.
angry. No knock warrants pissed me off.
Last thing I have as far as the grab it goes, we talked about Jen Psaki a little bit. She's a shill. It's fucked up.
Yeah. Going to MSNBC, that piece of shit.
Right.
Piece of shit.
Yeah.
In the effort of transparency, the two previous, Sarah Sanders and Kayleigh McEnany, did go and work at news companies when they left, but they were out of office when they did that. I think
Sean
Kayleigh
Spicer
McEnany
did
was
the same thing too.
Yeah, and I think Kayleigh McEnany was like the next day, but she was at least out of fucking office, right? At least she waited till she was out of office before she wrote up the contracts. I think she's on Fox now, I would assume.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, she's on Fox.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So she's on Fox, and I'm sure she was in talks or something, but fuck, man. It's dark. It's not dark. It doesn't look good that you're still in this sitting position in the White House, and these reports are already coming out that you're going to take a job at MSNBC.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a good look.
Yeah, the fact that people know that you're using your current job as, part of your resume.
And you obviously don't believe in this administration because you're trying to get the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
You're halfway through and you're trying to get the fuck out.
You might have another guaranteed 2 years if you're really, really fucking hopeful that the guy doesn't keel over tomorrow.
No. So one of the last things I have here, Amazon Union, right?
Yes.
It's a warehouse called JFK 8, and it is on Staten Island. They had their union vote.
I literally drove by there the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
So they had their union vote. That's the very first Amazon factory to have been unionized. There's obviously still the collective bargaining and everything to happen there, but they did have their vote. I'm trying to find the
This one was particularly interesting, if I recall correctly, because this was the first time a contemporary Amazon unionization attempt has been done where they created their own union and didn't try to join another. Like, this is not an existing Teamsters or anything. This is a bottom-up actual, they created their own union.
Yes. Chris Smalls is the leader of the Amazon union push now, and he was previously fired from Amazon. This is always happening all the time, and I just have such a difficult time with this because they're like, this pro-union person was fired for showing up to work 3 hours late. Well, bitch, you also showed up to work fucking 3 hours late. So what do you want from me? Like, it sucks you got fired. You also fucking showed up to work 3 hours late. Yeah. So
I get pissed at my guys if they show up 5 minutes late and don't tell me.
Yeah, I understand because I've worked.
Consequences.
You know what I'm saying? I've worked a job forever, but also if you know that you're doing shit that your company doesn't like, maybe you should be an exceptionally good employee so you don't have any reason to lose your job. So if they do fire you, then it's obvious, or you have a better argument that it is because they're trying to union bust, right? If you're fucking trying to make a union, why would you also show up to work 3 hours late? That just seems stupid to me.
Right.
But this union is there. The vote was 2,654 votes in favor and 2,131 opposed, with 67 ballots being challenged. So they started their own union, like Colin said. Some of the other unions, the Teamsters and stuff like that, said they didn't really believe that it would work, and so they just made their own Amazon Labor Union, is what it is called. So we have talked about unions a few times. Like I said in episode 123, we compared the PRO Act to this bill that Marco Rubio has introduced or tried to introduce that involves taking an employee and making them a non-voting member of the board of directors of a company and using that to allow them to have influence into the day-to-day operations and long-term operations and things like that. And so obviously pro-union people are against this because, they're non-voting and they're blah, blah, blah. So we talked about those things. What are some thoughts that you have on this if you want to talk about unions in general and also this specific decision?
I mean, just talking about unions in general, since it's not government, I don't necessarily have an issue with it. Like, if it means keeping your job, I'm always for a union. I'm not for a union constantly, giving you a pay raise for no reason, basically. Because there are some places that will give raises just for existing. You're not getting any better quality of goods or whatever. It's just whatever.
Raises the cost of the consumer.
The cost is going to definitely get passed on to the consumer. So, I think the overall thing with this Amazon unionization, it's long term not going to be good. It's not going to pan out well for consumers. It might pan out well for the people who are working there, but for the consumer, I would say brace up over the long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would make sense.
Pan out well.
Yeah. What do you got on unions, Ivan? What's
welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back, sir.
Thank you. I think that in today's day and age, I mean, let me preface what I'm about to say with, I think that everyone should make a livable wage, and I'm all for being able to work. But at the same time, I think it's absolutely absurd to think that to force an employer to do something that is against their interests, especially if it's a private company. If it's a public company, I guess it's a different story. Maybe you change the equation a little bit, but but especially if it's a private company, then I mean you're skating on some real thin ice. If I'm the owner of the business, then I'm going to start seriously considering pulling a Walmart, right, and start automating processes that I really don't need to. That I don't need people for anymore. I'm going to get rid of checkout people at the checkout. I'm going to be getting rid of any sort of manufacturing things that can be done by robots. I'll be doing some cost benefit analysis that I'm going to be looking really deep into, things that aren't going to let me down and ask for vacation and pay raises and boohoo and ask for all this other bullshit, right? I think that it's a really interesting position that we're finding ourselves in anymore with, especially with automation and robotics and stuff. It's people have to be careful. They really do.
Yeah. And I'll just add on to that, and particularly to the Amazon situation. I think if anybody goes through at least the contemporary, like the last 6 months of this podcast, you'll find me as a relatively anti-union individual. But I have also found myself defending people like the union in Staten Island. I'm glad they got unionized, man, because let's put it this way. Jeff Bezos does not need to keep those people employed. He can invest a little bit of money and with a series of smart conveyance systems and some automation, every single warehouse Amazon job can be automated, period. And it would not be a big investment on his part, and he would save a shit ton of money on the back end. It wouldn't take long.
The only reason why he's not doing that is because of the tax breaks he's getting for employing those people.
Yes, 100%. Because it benefits his bottom line currently.
I'm going to employ the minorities. I'm going to get the tax breaks.
Yeah.
They're going to shit on me for not paying them more. And I'm going to say, do you want robots or do you want $15 an hour?
Exactly.
And they're going to say, I want $15 an hour.
And if you look,
That's
Staten Island, bro,
It's
I
genius.
lived on Staten Island for 3 years. I know the economy of Staten Island. They benefited greatly from that Amazon warehouse being where it was. A lot of people got jobs that didn't have jobs before, and they're making more money now than they were before. Even before this unionization effort. The Amazon warehouse in Bremerton, technically Bremerton, which
the outskirts.
The outskirts. The city of Bremerton is massive, expansive, and does not make sense. But you put that, essentially, I think of that thing sitting in Gorst. It's right between Gorst and the airport. So I have a feeling you guys kind of can generally know where that is. Gorst needs those jobs. It's a good thing for those people to be there. And a lot of people have a more decent living now than they would have, or their commute is a lot shorter and they don't have to have as much hassle in their daily lives to make a decent, they can get by. I don't want to say it.
I think they make at least $15 an hour there.
Yeah.
I would assume. I mean, that's what Amazon pays. So it's probably closer to 20. Excuse me, just because it's so close to the shipyard.
Yeah. And I know what the housing market is in this area. It's not going to set you up for generational wealth by owning real estate and stuff like that, by working in the Amazon warehouse. It'll pay the bills. It'll get you by. You can pay rent with it. You can make it. Right. So I can get that. But if this becomes a trend, throughout every Amazon warehouse, the thing that's really going to come is, the people that end up remaining after the battle to be unionized will have a better paycheck. And there's going to be a lot of casualties in the process, and a lot of people will not have a job anymore. But the people that do retain it will be better off. Amazon does have a history of they take advantage of their employees, period. Like, I've known,
treat them like shit.
they do. And like, you hear the horror stories of people, peeing in jars, which I'm like, if you've never been on a long road trip, that's just called efficiency. But you hear the nasty stories, right, of them overworking people. They're essentially having people act as robots or do the best thing they can, because that's who you're competing against. Your job is to compete against your job being automated. And the minute you make it too hard or too expensive, we're going to solve that problem for you. But
I've got a question for you then.
Yes.
So based on exactly what you're saying right there, let's throw out a hypothetical. They do unionize, shit hits the fan. They say, you know what? We don't need you guys. We're going to go to automate, right? Now you've got a large population of a certain geography that is out of work. And let's say that this kind of trickles on through the economy, where everyone is doing the exact same thing. We don't need all the personnel. We don't need all the overhead. We don't need the centralization. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to fire everyone. Now, there's a huge unemployment rate. Now, universal basic income, UBI. What role does this play in this scenario? Do you think it needs to some real credence, or do you think that it needs to be ignored and innovation needs to come out of this through the pain?
Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Welcome to the south of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you